Alright, people. This guy's out of his goddamn mind. This is what you call some white people shit. I don't do this type of shit. I'm not this type of white person. I haven't watched this video, but apparently, I don't know if this guy lives or dies, but he was stuck for like 4 days in this tiny cave. It doesn't sound like a good time to me. I do not do this type of shit.
Being stuck in that position for going on 23 hours now makes it very difficult for him.
On the 24th of November, 2009, John Jones, a 26-year-old medical student and devout family man, was back home in Utah with his pregnant wife and their young daughter for the holidays. During the stay, he and a group of 10 other friends and family members arranged a trip down to the Nutty Putty cave system. This was a supposed beginner's cave, located near the family's home in Salt Lake City, but the trip would quickly turn into a hellish nightmare, causing...
It's like, dude, there's so many hobbies you could have. Who the fuck wants to crawl in these tiny goddamn caves? Go scuba diving. Go fucking hang gliding. Like, these are all, you like to take risks. You like to get some adrenaline. Being stuck in a tiny cave, that's just fucking miserable. I don't get how that's even, like, you wouldn't even get adrenaline from that. It's just like, you're stuck in there, you gotta take a piss, you piss all over yourself. You're fucking hungry. You're probably gonna die in a tiny cave. People can't even fucking get down to you. It's like, dude, at least if you go skydiving, the fucking parachute doesn't open. Boom, it's over. It's all good. You don't even feel a thing. This is a fucking shitty way to die.
One of the most unusual and arguably terrifying deaths in caving history, leading to the Nutty Putty caves being sealed shut forever. This is the story of the Nutty Putty cave incident. Be warned,
you couldn't pay
this
me.
is not a story for those
I
with
wouldn't do this.
claustrophobia. The Nutty Putty caves, first explored in 1960,
Hey, thanks for the
were
sub, man.
notorious for their narrow and slippery passageways, twists and turns. The cave system is accessible by a narrow hole, just 30 inches wide, and was reported to be an extremely popular beginner's cave, welcoming anywhere from 5 to 25,000 visitors a year. But after a series of high-profile rescue missions between 1999 and 2004, the cave's safety was widely and publicly called into question. All of these incidents involved people becoming stuck in the smaller passageways of the cave, including a 23-year-old man who became stuck for more than 7 hours, just meters away from the place where John Jones would find himself trapped. In another incident, a local teenager became stuck upside down for an entire night before he could be rescued. Because of these high-profile incidents, on May 2006, the Nutty Putty cave entrance was gated and inaccessible, and for several years, local cavers, or spelunkers as they're known in the US, would battle local authorities who were threatening to close the cave for good. Officials stated that the caving system was a ticking time bomb, and that it was only a matter of time before somebody was killed. But local spelunking groups argued that shutting the cave down would be unfair to serious cavers, and that people should take more responsibility for their own safety. It's apparent from the comments and letters written into local papers that some people felt it.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, you shouldn't close it down. If somebody wants to be a fucking idiot and go climbing through a tiny little cave, you do you, bro. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. You want to fucking smoke PCP and jump off the bridge? Hey, have a great time. I'm not going in that fucking cave. I'm not smoking that fucking dipstick. But don't make it illegal. I agree with that. Don't close it down.
Extremely passionate, even indignant about its potential closure. One letter to Utah's oldest newspaper demonstrates this, reading, "I'm tired of the government deciding it knows what is best for us. Nutty Putty Cave has been a fun spot for me. Both of my sons now love going to that cave. I hope somebody can tell me how many people have been hurt or killed. I haven't heard of any. Possibly a sign telling of the risks involved should be placed by the cave so that we as Americans can decide for ourselves what is best." As the war waged on, finally, in September 2007,
Looks pretty fucking
the caves
cool,
were
I'm not gonna
officially
lie.
closed to the public, while a new volunteer management team was put in place. This was a last-ditch attempt to prevent the cave's complete and permanent closure. And then, finally, in March 2009, the Nutty Putty Caves reopened, with a brand new cave management plan. The new plan enforced a process which required would-be spelunkers to apply for a permit 21 days before their visit, and agree to follow certain safeguarding procedures, such as having a minimum of 2 people per visiting group that were, and I quote, experienced cavers. And so, it was under these circumstances that 26-year-old John Jones and his then 23-year-old brother Josh Jones, plus 9 other members of his friends and family, entered the Nutty Putty Caves on the 24th of November 2009. When the group entered the cave at 8 p.m. local time, they would have been confident. Whilst John and his brother had not visited the Nutty Putty Caves before, they had spent much of their childhood exploring Utah's caves. In fact, as a small boy, John had more than once acted as a trapped victim for the Utah Cave Rescue Team, a group his father...
White people, what are we doing, man? You know, isn't rock climbing without any cables fucking crazy enough? You're sending your kids down into these goddamn tiny caves just to see if somebody can maybe get them out? What the fuck are we doing? We're out of our goddamn mind.
...had helped found. But the reality was that John and his brother hadn't been spelunking in years, and...
Look at this psychopath. You people are out of your goddamn mind climbing in these tiny caves. Go parachuting or something. This is just beyond me, man. This is too white for me.
There is a great deal of debate as to whether John and his brother could act as experienced cavers on behalf of their group. Nonetheless, for the first hour, everything went well, as the party explored the largest room in the cave, called the Big Slide. It was at this point that his brother Josh and their 2 friends challenged each other to go further on into the next part of the cave, taking on one of the most difficult to navigate areas, known as the birth canal. This part of the cave is so tight that only a few people can actually access it. Eventually, the birth canal passageway opens up into a small room. Several people had become stuck in the birth canal previously, but John, a fit, healthy, and slender man in his prime, wasn't worried. Heading through the path...
Dude, it's like I can't get over it. Look at that. That doesn't look fun. Pick a different hobby. This looks fucking god-awful. This looks terrifying. What if you have to take a piss? Like I said before, you just piss all over yourself? What a great time. Fuck this shit, man. This is just pissing me off.
First, with his brother behind him, John wriggled on just his stomach down what he thought was the entrance to the birth canal. But John, unknowingly, had taken a wrong turn down an unmapped passageway via a route known as the Corkscrew, a place where only the smallest and most flexible of cave explorers could fit. As John pushed forward, the passageway became tighter and tighter, and he became unable to turn back on himself. When he saw what looked like a small opening at the end of the crawl space, he continued on, with hopes of being able to turn around. Unfortunately, this is where things took a turn for the worse, because John was crawling head first into a 10 by 18 inch fissure that dropped straight down. Worse still, John had sucked in his chest to slide past a lip of rock to get into the fissure, meaning that when his chest expanded again, he became completely trapped in an area the size of a small, front-loading washing machine. John made several attempts to free himself. It was no use. It was at this point...
You know what, John? It's your own damn fault. I don't know what the hell you're thinking doing this shit. Who the fuck? You people are out of your goddamn mind with this shit. Stop going into tiny little caves. Go ride a bike. Do something. Go snowboarding.
That he began calling for his brother. When Josh finally found John, for a split
Give me 1 second.
He
You
thought
guys,
that this would be a silly story.
I gotta take a break.
Later on that evening,
this is fucking stressing me
as
out.
he examined the situation more closely, dread settled in. Josh made several desperate attempts to free his brother, but none of them worked. In fact, he had made the situation worse. John had slid further down into the passage and was now completely upside down, with both of his arms pinned to his side, unable to move at all. It was at this point that the 2 brothers realized that they needed help. Josh alerted the rest of the group and left a friend to stay with John as he rushed out of the cave system to a nearby hill to get reception and call 911. Knowing help was on the way, he went back down into the cave where his brother was still pinned upside down. It would be 3 hours before help would arrive. At 12:30 a.m, the first rescuer arrived on the scene. It was Susie Matola, a local volunteer who immediately rushed to the scene when she received a message on her pager. Right
And what's
away,
she gonna do?
Susie realised that John's predicament was much, much worse than she had thought.
Yeah,
She
he's
knew
a
she had
fucking
to
idiot.
keep John calm, and so she greeted him and told him that he'd be out in no time, and not
Look, I don't know if this guy dies, if he's dead. I'm sorry for talking all this shit, but it's like, it's hard to have sympathy for you, bro. You picked the shittiest hobby of all time. That's the last time I'm gonna say it. Last time. I'm sorry for talking shit about this guy who's probably fucking dead, but it's just like, what the hell are you doing?
to worry, to which John replied, "Hi Susie, thank you for coming, but I really, really want to get out." Susie tried absolutely everything she could think of to pull John out, including cutting off part of his jeans to free up some space, but after 2 hours, Susie was exhausted and unsuccessful. She was forced to crawl back up to the surface where, both his wife and his daughter and around 30 rescuers had arrived on the scene. There, a very concerned but calm group were brainstorming plan after plan. They discussed everything, from breaking John's legs to lubricating the walls with several gallons of oil. But eventually, they decided upon a system of ropes and pulleys to hoist John out, legs first. This pulley system would be aided by drilling some of the rock around him to create more space. Members of the rescue team made their way to John with the equipment, but they ran into problems. The rock wasn't opening at the end of the crawl. The rescuers saw that even though John was complaining, he had a smile on his face. And then, on what was to be the fourth pull, disaster struck.
That's why he's in this predicament. He's out of his mind.
That was helping to hold him in position. One of the devices as part of that system failed, and Mr. Jones actually ended up falling back into the area where he had been stuck for so long.
The system had failed. The entire team fell backwards. When the team...
It must be crazy deep, because you would think you could just drill from the top or get a fucking excavator, but there's a good chance you just kill him on accident. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do in that situation. You're kind of just fucked.
The team regained composure. They realized that the worst thing imaginable had happened. A bolt that was drilled into one of the cave's walls had come out, causing part of the cave to crumble. This had hit the lead rescuer in the face, causing him to momentarily black out. And, worst of all, John had slid back down into the crevice and had now become completely unresponsive. With the rescuer closest to John now needing medical attention, a second lead rescuer took his place. Satisfied that John was, in fact, still breathing, in a state of desperation, the new rescuer somehow managed to slip a rope around John's waist. But he himself became stuck and needed help from other members of the team, sustaining multiple...
See, I feel bad for those guys. The guys that... they didn't want to come down here. They didn't want to go into the fucking corkscrew or whatever the hell it's called. They're just trying to help this goddamn maniac. And he's probably already dead, to be honest with you.
Multiple injuries in the process. A third lead rescuer made a last-ditch attempt to free John by desperately drilling away the rock around him. But it was no use. The entire team was exhausted. John was barely breathing and was still unresponsive. He had gone into cardiac arrest, and tragically, there was nothing anyone could do. It was at this point that John's wife Emily was informed of the situation. John was technically alive, but unconscious. In her desperation, she believed that he could still survive the ordeal and continue to radio down. In one of her final communications with John, she said, "I know you've been pushing so hard for so long. Why don't you rest for a minute and take a break, and then you can push again." At this point, whilst they couldn't officially confirm it, rescuers suspected the worst. And so, a brave paramedic was sent down to take a pulse, confirming what everyone had suspected. At 11:56 p.m. on the 25th of November 2009, John Edward Jones was pronounced dead 28 hours after he had initially become stuck. Emily was initially in complete disbelief. She refused to believe that her husband could die from such a simple mistake and did not accept that a pulse taken from the leg could indicate that he was dead. Eventually, officials managed to calm her down, agreeing that they would do everything in their power to remove her husband's body from the cave. Not wanting to let a grieving widow down, the team discussed what was reported to be some rather distasteful plans to get John's body out, but this would prove to be impossible. Even if they were able to free John, his lifeless body would not be able to twist properly in order to be fully removed from the cave, at least not intact. It was decided, given everything that had transpired, that it was simply too dangerous for the rescue team to attempt to remove his body, and so a decision was made to seal the entrance of the cave with concrete, with John's body inside, forever. John's family had a plaque installed on the entrance of the cave in his memory. Later, the family would release a statement where they said that John Edward Jones, husband, father, and paediatric cardiologist in training, would be remembered for his, quote, good nature, delightful sense of humour, strong work ethic, a genuine love of people, a masterful ability to relate to children, a love of and unwavering faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and his commitment to his family as an amazing husband, father, son, and brother. To this day, John's remains are still inside the cave, serving as a harrowing reminder of the very real risks of cave exploration. This is the Real Horror Channel, the place for all.
Yeah, fuck, I'll say. That was a horror story, bro. I thought they got him out, to be honest. I didn't know it was going to be that dark. I was talking a lot of shit, and you know what? I stand by it. Dude, you know, cave crawling, cave diving, whatever the fuck they call it. Don't do it. If you're an adrenaline junkie, go snowboarding, go skydiving, go shoot guns. You know, that is a shitty way to go. That's a pretty bad way to go. And then I think somebody else died trying to help this fucking guy. So it's like, you're actually putting other people at risk. Someone's gonna have to come in there and get your dumb ass, and they might fucking not make it out to see their family. Stop the cave shit. I know people are gonna be fucking talking shit. I get it. You can do whatever you want at the end of the day. They shouldn't make it illegal or anything, but